Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. Najeeb Ranginwala. Thank you very much. First of all, I'm thankful for Allah for providing this opportunity to present to the audience, and also I'm thankful for the IMS group to giving me this chance to present. Also, I'm thankful for the audience to take time and listen to this presentation because it's one of the significant topic. We all have it. And the question is, how do I am going to improve it? So that's where the questions are, correct? So everybody can say Dhruv Sharif. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so thank you very much. Let me summarize. Uh, there are a lot of things to consider in this presentation. So let's go step by step before I'm going to ask the questions. So basically, this will be my sixth presentation, the sixth one. In the first four presentation, I started with self-esteem, the definition of self-esteem from psychiatry wise versus Islamic concept. And that is significantly important to know because if you have low self-esteem and you have incorrect definition, you will be struggling with your self-esteem. So that is the correction and how to improve your self-esteem. Then the second and the third one, and in fact the fourth one, what we went into the concept of nafsru and qalb, how they improve your self-esteem, which is a significant important concept to improve the self-esteem, correct? So the dynamic paradigm and the neuroadaptive paradigm of soul and of self-esteem, increasing the high self-esteem. So we went into minor detail, including the concept of akal, ilm, and hikmat. So that is something we need to understand, that we have to have a high self-esteem. And if we have low self-esteem, why should we have? The last presentation which I did is we were talking about actually internet related behavior. So in that presentation I went into pretty good detail about the neurosecretary which happens in your mind. The emphasis on more academic during that time. There was a reason behind that, and the reason behind that is, if you want to understand the core concept and application, you need to understand the basics, because it's difficult if you don't understand the basic, correct? So you have to understand the core concepts and how the connections are. So I know it was a lot of information from the basic science, but trust me, if you understand and grab that concept, that will be very helpful for all the habit related issues, correct? So that is what we were going through, and today's presentation will be the application of it. So basically it's more application and going back, telling you this was a circuit. So you need to understand the neurotransmitter, the different neural pathways and all those things, because neuroscience goes into minor detail about that. It's up to us to know about it rather than not know about it and then say I have a problem with my habits or with my internet related behavior. So that was the reason why I went into minor detail last presentation. But this presentation is all more on generally on habits, which could be any of the habits. Internet related habit is another habit, correct? So let's come to the question which a lot of people have it, correct? So what is the critical thinking behind changing the habit? Means everybody has habits, but you may need to know what is the critical thinking behind changing the habit. Just knowing one answer is not the one. You need to know all the answers, and that is significantly important. And the other thing which we will address is the effect of habit on your high and low self-esteem, correct? Because a habit has significant effect. So if you have needs, it depends on your high and low self-esteem, and then goes with your habits, correct? So we need to understand that concept. The other thing which is we need to understand is what's the effect of healthy habits on ownership and accountability. If you have healthy habit, how is the ownership and accountability comes in? These are the things we need to understand. We are very good in our job, correct? We do that thing. but we need to understand why the habits are significantly changed when we change the paradigm. What is going on, correct? So we need to think about it. Why the habit change all of a sudden? Uh, the more practical way, I will ask you a question, and this is what you need to think about it. And this is where Islamic knowledge come, is that we, if you look at the example of means Hazrat Abu Bakr Razilullah Ta'ala anhu, why his habit changed in a short period of time before accepting Islam to converting to Islam. That was the shortest time his habit changed. That is the answer you need to know. Why it changed so quickly? You need to know the answer. You read the Sirah, you read everything, Quran and everything. Why his habit changed all of a sudden? We complain about bad habits for 20, 30, 40 years. But you see Hazrat Abu Bakr who changed the habit in the shortest time, correct? Need to know that. Because if you understand that concept, you are on the right pathway. Or you can also look at how's Hazrat Ali. Hazrat Ali has sometimes he get angry, but that habit he controls it. Why? That is the question you need to answer it. And this is your job to find out, correct? These are things by the way, neuroscience explain in that detail. We are not aware of it, or we come up with a one answer. There are a number of answers for that. So if you look at the neuroscience and the habit formation, you get multiple choices why it did. So this is something you need to understand, that why they had such a great habits and why they're sustaining that habit and why we are not sustaining the habit. What is wrong with in our way of approaching to change into a good habit? That's the example we need to figure out. So the neuroscience does helps in those things. So these are the things I want to emphasize why and what are those ones. Not just one, number of them. So these are the things we need to understand. Hopefully, so let's go. So we have good habits and bad habits, correct? We all already know all the good habits, but let's talk about the bad habits, correct? Quran talks a lot about bad habits. Let's look at it, correct? So let's go to the next slide. I just took three examples, correct? So, for example, for the bad habits, correct? One is backbiting and gossiping, correct? Chapter 49, verses 12, correct? So, the translation, do not spy on one another, nor backbiting one another. Would any of you eat a flesh of his dead brother? Means that's a bad habit. Allah is telling us it's just like eating your dead brother if you're backbiting, correct? It's very common. We do that, right? The other one is arrogance and pride, which is chapter 31, verses 18. Do not speak to the people with your face turned away with pride, nor walk proudly on earth. For Allah does not love any self constricted a boaster. So that's talking about the pride and arrogance, correct? So that is another bad habit. Wasting resources, chapter 7, verses 31. Eat and drink, but do not be extravagant. Surely he does not love the extravagant. So Allah also talks about when we eat too much or without wasting things, Allah does not like it, correct? These are the bad habits, correct? So this is just a few examples I pull up from the Quran, but there are a lot of examples. Allah talks about bad habits, correct? So, going to the next slide, and this is the eye opener, total eye opener. And if this does not opens your eyes, I don't know what will opens your eyes. I'm just quoting from the Quran, which is Surah Mudassir, which is chapter 74, correct? So this is the conversation which will take place between the people of the Jannah with the people of the Jahannam. We exactly know where we are. our deeds telling us where we are, correct? So figure out where you are, correct? And these things which Allah is mentioning, we will be talking. So in our lifetime, Allah is telling us, this is what you will be saying. Now understand, this is what we will be either saying or listening. Figure out yourself with your deed and habits, correct? So the people, every soul will be held in the pledge for its deed, except the people in the right hand, who shall be in the paradise asking the culprit. Means the people in the Jannat will be asking people in the Jahannam, what brought you into the hell? And the people in hell will answer, we did not use to offer salah. That's one of, which is also a part of a habit, correct? We will, nor did we use to feed the poor. That's another kind of a habit. But we used to join those who wasted their time in vain talk. That's a pure bad habit. And we used to deny day of judgment. That's the faith. So out of four, three are, especially the third one is total habit. And the first and second is a part of a habit. And these are the one will take you into the hellfire. Now you figure out yourself, where are you? This is what we will be saying, correct? Figure out yourself. If that does not change your mind, God knows, wallahu alam, what will change your mind. But this will happen. You have to think every day this thing. Either you will be asking or you will be telling. In your lifetime, right now, Allah has already told you this will happen. And the tip of an iceberg is another line after that, the verse. On that day, no intercession of any intercession shall profit them. That's the verse. Nobody will watch for you except if Allah allows it. So the last hope is gone, except if Allah allows it. So see how much emphasis on habits are. That people in the hellfire have these issues, and that's related to habit. So if we don't change habit, or if we don't take care of it, habits, we know where we are going, right? I just want to give few things, okay? So you understand the significance of bad habits. Either you rectify it or listen to understand Hazrat Abu Bakr, how he changed the habit. Neuroscience tells very significantly how he did that, or Hazrat Ali, correct? So let's go to the next slide. Can we go to the next slide? Yes. So this is a common pathway, or I made that. Can anybody tell in this where the habit lies? Which block will you decide the habit lies based on all the previous presentation? And it's open for any one of us.
Habit lies
Allah,
in the
wallahu
memory.
alam, Allah knows the best, but I just want to hear from you guys.
So we learned that habits lies in the memory.
Okay, so which box will you pick? Pick whichever you think. And it's a learning lesson for all of us. So
We have
I would
established that
say
mind is something different to brain. Sorry, Hamza, go on.
I was gonna say nafs habit should
Yeah,
go
I
enough.
was gonna say nafs too. Nafs and ID.
okay, anybody else? So let me rephrase the definition of habits. It's a repetitive behavior which is learned and conditioned, and mostly at unconscious mind.
Yeah.
Because you do the habits without realizing it, correct? You do it very quickly. You say something, you do things, you don't think about it, you just do it. So it's a repetitive behavior learned and conditioned. That's how we say habits are.
To me,
So
it
just giving
looks
you a
like
heads up.
to me it looks like in knowledge that's good or evil. The
Okay,
LLM.
good. I want you to start thinking because I don't want to give you answers. So you need to listen to the whole presentation so you can understand, correct? Wallahu alam, Allah knows the best, correct? I'm not saying that what I'm saying is 100%, but wallahu alam, but from based on neuropsychiatry and psychiatry, I can teach you where it lies, correct? Very simple, okay? I want to engage with you as active discussion. I don't want you to be listening just passively, correct? That's the reason of asking, correct? So let's go to the next slide.
Dr. Najib, so
Mhm.
your answer was this is unconditional, unconscious mind. So
Habit
what was
is
your answer?
usually so then the reason why I'm holding the answer is that you can listen to the presentation and then
Oh,
rectify.
okay.
Otherwise, you will got the answer, then you will say, "Hey, I got it."
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. I thought you have given the answer and I didn't get
No,
it.
no, no, no. I didn't give it that. I just want you to keep on thinking. Correct.
Okay.
So you
That's
hear the
fine.
neuropsychiatry, you hear the psychology portion of it, and then I will explain to you why. So now you got the whole gist. I want you to think that way rather than just get the answer right away. Correct.
Yeah.
But I will say, Wallahu alam. Allah knows the best. I'm not the 100% authority for anything. Correct.
Yeah.
Is that okay with you?
Yep. Perfect.
Okay, good. So keep the concentration alive. Okay, so let's go to yes, this slide. So as we discuss about this whole pathway, that's a significant important pathway. When you hear things or see things, correct? It's go from the vision, it goes to the thalamus area, then it goes to the different part of the cortex, correct? Where hearing center, vision center, where it's identified, goes back to the thalamus, correct? And then you have the amygdala, which is the fear center or punishment center, and then you have nucleus accumbens, which is the reward pathway or reward, one of the major one, correct? And the VTA is the ventral tegmental area, which is where the dopamine is secreted. It goes to there. We talk in pretty detail about it last time, correct? So your reward and punishment are activated, depends on what is activated, what is not activated, and then it goes to prefrontal cortex, correct? And the short loops, which goes to the nucleus accumbens and nucleus amygdala, and then it goes to the brainstem, and you respond, which is a short loop, and the long loop goes to prefrontal cortex, get the information, and then goes back. So this is a very important circuit. You need to understand, especially like anger portion. Why anger? As you know the hadith that when you're angry, sit down, and if you're still angry, lie down, correct? It's giving time period. So your prefrontal cortex is activated, correct? And then you correct yourself, correct? So this is very important to understand. So in habit formation, this is also work, correct? I'm just giving you some pathways, correct? So let's go to the next slide. So if you look into psychiatry and neurology, habit is actually formed internally and externally. There are two pathways, the easiest way to learn it. So Clark Hull drive reduction theory. That's what Clark Hull suggested it. It's a biological internal drive. Goal is to reach homeostasis state. You have a pleasure or hunger, you want to reach that goal, internal drive. So it has three component trigger. When you're hungry, you have a behavior, you eat something and you are satisfied. So the motivation is coming internally. This is the internal drive in your habit, right? Understand there's an internal drive and there's an external drive. The internal drive is drive reduction theory. So when you get satisfied, your drive goes down and habit is pretty much happy with that. And that circuit keeps on running, correct? So what's the critical thinking? To overcome outcome is satisfactory, the drive will be reduced, correct? So you get what you want, drive goes down. Then when you have another drive, you will do the same thing. So repetition of same variable leads to a habit, right? So you keep on doing it, internal drive keep on happening, you develop habit. So what is the application of it? It's the influence of the nerves leading to the cult. And if it keeps on going, then you develop habits. Because that is where the thing is. The nerves is giving you impulses that I want that. And the cult has to accept it. If it keeps on going, then you develop habits. So kalb is a very important factor to develop habit, correct? When you have internal drive, correct? So let me go to next slide, and after that slide, there's a diagram to explain to you. And go next one. So this is the slide actually explaining that, which is drive reduction theory. So when you're hungry, you eat and your drive keeps on calm down. So you develop habit that when you're hungry, you want to eat, correct? That's an internal drive, correct? So let's go to one slide backwards. Okay, good. Now the second one, it is the Skinner operant conditioning. As I mentioned, there are classical conditioning and an operant conditioning. So the operant conditioning is based on reward and punishment pathway. So those are external pathway that causes habits. You get uh, reward, you want to get that, you want like to do those things, correct? So this is what Skinner said, that this is operant condition. So the critical thing is consequences lead to behavior modification. You are getting reward, you get into the habit of the reward phenomena. This is externally, not internally, correct? So these are so it influences the akal, uh, which is basically when you have the akal, which is the ilm portion, which is the knowledge portion, that affects your qalb and develop a habit. So in real life, both circuit works, internal drive as well as external drive, correct? Internal drive is the inner portion of your body. External drive is the reward and punishment that causes habits, correct? Something you get more out of it, or you enjoy those things, you develop that habit. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So this is what explaining. So Skinner is operant condition is saying if the cookie tastes good, you're more likely to repeat that behavior. It's a reward and punishment thing, correct? So it's the external one versus internal one. Both are working together to develop habit. So you have to work on both of them. And that's the way the habit is developed. Both pathways are there. So it's not just where you're hungry, that's why, but even if you're not hungry and you see something tempting or really delicious, you get the feeling that I need to eat it. That's the operant conditioning. So do you understand this is how it works in the development of habits, correct? Internally and externally. Let's go to the next slide. So habit is a constant behavior over time. It's a constant behavior. So you have developed the behavior and it keeps on running. Today's habit can be altered as a result of tomorrow's exposure. So habit can be changed. It's not like you have this habit cannot be changed. Just if you change the exposure, your habit will change. Which we are talking. Habit can be changed, correct? And cultivation of a habit requires reinforcement, punishment, and resilience. How many people of you know all these three factors? That's the most important part you need to learn. We usually use punishment as a habit to get out of the habit, but you're missing the whole story. You have to use reinforcement, punishment, as well as resilience. All three pathways to make sure that habit develops strongly and you stick to the habit, not just one. Okay, so this is all psychiatry and behavior science, correct? So I'm just telling you this is how it works. So if you're using just one, and then you say that I cannot maintain this habit or just lose the habit, that's the reason, because you're not doing reinforcement or resilience, correct? So let's go to what is reinforcement. Reinforcement increases the behavior. Just go back to that slide. So reinforcement increases the behavior. It's like adding something pleasure, like gifts, increase the always reinforcement increases the behavior. So when you do a positive reinforcement, you're giving gifts, so your behavior increases. What is negative reinforcement? Removing something unpleasant. You know, when you're studying and there's a lot of distraction going on, you remove that and your behavior improve or things like that. That's called negative reinforcement. So in psychiatry, we say you either can use positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement to increase your behavior. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you. So this is a picture showing it. So positive reinforcement, adding a desirable stimulus to increase the behavior. That is reinforcement. Or negative reinforcement, removing unpleasant stimulus that increases the behavior, correct? Means it's a loud sound coming and that wakes you up, correct? So the negative. So remember, reinforcement increases your behavior. Punishment decreases the behavior, correct? When you do punishment, that stops the behavior, correct? Keep this thing in mind, okay? Very important to understand. Reinforcement increases the behavior, punishment decreases the behavior. But I'm saying we have to use both of them, correct? I will explain to you why we're going to use both of them, correct? So let's go to the next slide. So when we do punishment, especially for the kids or growing up, and you know, you need, or even if you're doing for your namaz and rosa and zakat, and you need to develop habits. You need to think that way. What neuroscience psychiatry is talking about, right? That increases it. So when we say punishment, punishment works when it's consistent and immediate with standard condition. So when you want to give punishment, make sure it is happening within 24 hours. So they remember that something happened, so I need to take care of it, correct? So it's not after so many days later you do punishment. You should make sure that they understand that, correct? Combining punishment of a bad behavior with reinforcement of the good behavior. That is very important. If your kid does something wrong and you're just doing punishment for the bad behavior but never brought reinforcement of the good behavior they did the whole day, they get a bad feeling that every time I do, I get slammed, but they never appreciate something I did good. So you want to tell them you appreciate them throughout the day, but this thing, we don't like it. So it's very healthy for them. It's not all gloom and doom, right? You need to tell them reinforcing the good thing they have done and then explain this is something you have done not right and needs punishment for that. So you're working with them. It's not all bad. It's so they understand that they are accountable for their action, but you're appreciating their good thing which they have done throughout that day too. Correct? So it's very important. That's what's missing in the parents and in our behavior attitude that we never reinforce those things. We all hit the punishment and that's all. So this is very important to understand. And other thing which is very important to understand is you need to give warning before you give punishment. You do means you know you should let the kid know, hey, if you do this, this will be the punishment, right? So it's very healthy to do that. So when they do it, you tell them, correct? That reinforce a gooder habit because they exactly know to avoid those things. And so there is a punish. So there are two type of punishment, correct? So you need to understand what are the two punishments are. Positive punishment is adding unpleasant stimulus, correct? You know, a teenager misbehaving his parents, and you give them extra chores. So they decreases the behavior. That's positive punishment. The negative punishment is removing the pleasant stimulus, like losing the digital device privilege for disorderly conduct. So that's decreasing the behavior. So so punishment decreases the behavior, but you need to figure out what is positive, what is negative, and if that will help them. Let's go to the next slide. This is exactly explaining. So the child talks back to their parents, so the parent give extra, chores to them, correct? So that's positive punishment. Negative punishment was the same thing. A child breaks the house rules, so the parents takes away the video games privileges. That's negative punishment. So just keep in mind the positive punishment, negative punishment, but we need to do, these are the punishment types, okay? Let's go now to the next slide. This is very important to understand. When you're doing reinforcement, and reinforcement is very important. What psychiatry teaches you, you have to first do continuous reinforcement. So you want to increase the behavior, something the child has done really good, correct? You give them the gift or reward phenomena every time they do. So they get used to enjoying that reward phenomena, which is, and they enjoy that. So you have to do continuous reinforcement initially, so they establish that pathway. Once they establish the pathway, you have to go partial reinforcement. That means every time they do, they're not going to get the gifts. They're not going to get the reward because they will start guessing when will we get the reward, to make sure that the continuous reinforcement keeps on going. Because every time you give the reward, then they will say, hey, I need bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, correct? So you do random. So you don't give every time, every third time, every eighth time. So they are always guessing. So that keeps the reinforcement alive and it works very well. So this is a pathway of doing reinforcement, that first you do continuous and then you do partial reinforcement. So they keep on looking for it when they're going to get it. And that keeps the reinforcement active in the human mind. This is a very crucial pathway to understand in a human behavior. When we do punishment, it causes pain, so stops the behavior right away. So uh, a kid does not like pain pathway or something taken away. But if you have done reinforcement of the good behavior they have done during that time, they like that. So they understand that when the punishment was given, there was a reason behind that. And they acknowledge the reinforcement which is coming from the good behavior which they have done during that time, right? So this is very important. Let's go to the another slide. Next slide. This is one of the most important thing we need to do, resilience. And it is significantly important. Ability to bounce back from difficult time, learn the experience, and adapt to standard paradigm. You need to come out of it, and that's called resilience. You may have gone through it, but then coming back is the most important thing. So this is the Pittman and colleague formulated that there are seven models. It's called 7C. And that is very important to understand that concept, that how you will develop resilience. You know, you will have bad habits or good habits, but you have to develop resilience. So if you have a bad habit, you're working on it, you have to come out of it, correct? To go to good habit and to have resilience to come out of it, correct? So what is important in resilience? You have to have knowledge. Your knowledge has to be good and perfect. If your knowledge is good, it helps your resilience, correct? Very important to understand. So your competency or knowledge is very important. Connection, very important. The social interaction and gratitude. You know, this is where it's very important. Your gratitude. When you have a gratitude with Allah, you get so much good connection with Allah, correct? When you have socially connected with other, which are good influence, that brings your resilience back. And it's very important to have somebody who will help you and make you understand that and develop gratitude in you. So that is a very strong factor of connection is very important. The third one is character. That is trust. Trust between you and Allah, or trust between you and your parents or caretaker. If they are nice to you, you need to develop trust. That develop resilience. You have to have trust because trust works at the unconscious level, helps you understand that. Contribution, the past achievement is very important. So if you have done something really good, similar to that, think about it. That brings you out or into a higher resilience, correct? Coping and stress management, extremely important. So you have to develop healthy boundaries, which is when something really bad goes wrong, you develop healthy boundaries. So you understand, develop healthy boundaries, and there's a way to control your healthy boundaries. You know, if something is really bad and it's irritating you, so you control your breathing. That calms you down. Take a walk, stay away from there, and control yourself. So you're not going to hyper mode and getting really upset, correct? So you have to control yourself and maintain your healthy boundaries. There's a way system how it works. So when you do control breathing, it helps you calm down. But because if you don't do control breathing and you're breathing really fast, that tells a signal to your autonomic nervous system there's something wrong, correct? So the body has a system that when you breathe really fast, something is wrong. It's flight or fright reaction is coming internally. So you need to control the breathing and take a deep breath, hold it, and then take it out. Take a breath, hold, and come out. It calms your nerve down internally, right? That helps your resilience because you feel internally strong enough to control yourself, right? And then the other thing is critical thinking. You need to think about it, that what happened wrong, why you're doing bad behaviors or bad habits are you doing. So you have to have a critical thinking. So these 7 modules really helps your resilience. And this has been seen in different modules we have used in psychiatry, and we really looks at it. So when we work on habits, resilience is significantly important. That sustain you and bring you out from a bad habit because you're sustaining it, correct? So let's go to the next slide. This is a very important slide, and I'm telling you it's very important. Okay, so let's go to this. So you have awareness of bad habits, correct? The first thing will happen is intention to take action, correct? You have to take action to get out of the bad habits. But if you don't have a trust or knowledge or connection, that intention is never there or it's very weak. You need to develop knowledge and connection, right? That is very important, right? So you have to have a correct knowledge and connection. Like, for instance, when you pray namaz, if you have good knowledge and connection with Allah, your intention will make it happen and you will pray very well. But if your knowledge about day after or next life or how Allah wants us to live our life and our connection with Allah is not there, our intentions are very weak, correct? Intention take action. And then you modify or active modification take place. So do you understand the knowledge and connection are significantly important to achieve and sustain the changes from a bad habit to good habit? And the answer of that last two question is this one. When I said, why Hazrat Abu Bakr took the least amount of time to change his habit? The answer was knowledge and connection. That was the answer. He had significant knowledge and he was a wise thinker. He was very wise. He used to talk less, but he was very wise. So somebody who is really wise knows when when he changed from non-Muslim to become a Muslim, he knew that because he learned the religion by thinking, not somebody gave it to him. Like the father gave it to son, so you're born in a Muslim family, you don't have to think about it because you're Muslim. No, he was non-Muslim before. He has to think about it. He was a wise thinker. So the people who converted to Islam were in a different pathway. They had to think about it. I have to leave all those things and I have to go there. So your conscious and especially unconscious mind, they have to make sure it's correct. That's why your faith lies in your unconscious mind, most of that. And when you rectify that with the correct knowledge, because you shift the ship, you exactly know, right? So your knowledge and the connection with Allah was so significant that his habit changed in the shortest period of time. That's the answer. not because that's the real answer for psychiatry point of view. So you have to develop a good knowledge and connection with Allah. And that's what we have seen in psychiatry. Every time when you want to change anybody's habit, you have to work on their knowledge and connection. If those are strong enough, they will sustain the habit for a long period of time. But when they relapse, this is the two factors always happen. Their knowledge become weak, they have biases, fallacies, cognitive dissonance, ego conflict, all those things comes up and they go down the hill and the connection is poor and they lose the habit. Right? So it's very important to understand the knowledge and connection, very important to sustain good habit or go from a bad to a good habit. Develop the knowledge and connection with Allah or whoever is giving you the information. You trust them, they are pious, they are good. You should develop connection with them. So it's very important to understand this. So you will least likely will relapsing into a bad habit or relapsing out of the good habit. So this is very important to understand from behavior science that knowledge and connection are the key to sustain good habits. When we lose that, you lost it. So other thing which you have to understand is how you learn. How you learn. So passive learning is what you're hearing. When you hear by reading or hearing, you learn 10 to 30%. That's from behavior science because you're not actively involved in the critical thinking process, which you need it by different ways. When you're doing active learning, which is discussion and problem solving, your learning goes from 30 to 70%. Significant high because you interact with somebody. You tell each question that I don't understand from my point of view. Correct me. So everybody is different when they're solving the problem, correct? It's not everybody has the same problem. So everybody has a different way of thinking. The unconscious mind is different with a different problem. So you have to do active discussion. When you do active discussion, your learning process goes up. Why I'm saying more about learning? That's the reason. You remember the habit I talk about? It's a repetitive behavior with learning and condition. Learning is important. How did you learn? How did you sustain your learn? Where did you put the memory of learning? So you have to put the correct learning and put in your mind. And the third and most important is implicit learning. That is very important because active and implicit learning makes up to 99%, correct? What is implicit learning? Implicit learning takes place at the unconscious mind. And that is very important because habit happens very quickly. You respond right away, right? So it's coming from your unconscious mind. So you have to put the knowledge correct. So when you do unconsciously, you pick the right knowledge to act on it. That's very important. That's why knowledge is very important. Learning is very important, correct? Understand this concept. Very important to understand to sustain habit. Let's go to the next slide. If remember this slide I showed to you long time, a couple of times when we were talking nafs, qalb, and ruh. So you have a long-term memory. In the long-term memory, you have a declarative memory and non-declarative memory. Non-declarative, which is implicit memory. That is in from unconscious mind. And look at the bottom of it. So procedural memory, perceptual memory, classical condition, and non-associative learning. These are all habits. They're sitting in your unconscious mind. This is the memory store unconscious mind. So you need to correct your knowledge and connection. When you do that, your habit changes. If you to the direction you want to do it. And that is very important. So the three things which is very important, you need to understand. You have to have resilience, you have to do punishment, and you have to, the third one I'm forgetting right now, reinforcement, correct? So you have to do reinforcement, punishment, and resilience, but you have to have correct knowledge. Very important. And if you do that, you will rectify your bad habits and you will go to good habits and sustain good habits. Now, this applies to everything. Habit is everything, you know. So, as I mentioned, you know, we do all the bad habits. We need to rectify those bad habits because those are the reason that may lead you to Jahannam or hellfire, correct? We need to work on that because that's what the people in the Jahannam will be talking about. So these are the neurocircuit pathways that helps us to rectify our bad habits and sustain good habits. And that will be helpful for all of us. Hopefully you have questions. If you have questions, please let me know.
So I have a question. May I ask now?
Uh, just can just before I answer the question, Sister Mehreen, you actually asked a couple of questions before. Did I answer all of them?
Partially. So let's take a case study where
Uh-huh.
we want to change the habits of an 11-year-old.
Okay.
How many days will it take to change the habit? How many days will it take to have that habit coming from the unconscious mind?
Okay. That's a good one. So we know what type of learning they are doing and what type of things you are doing, correct? So initially you have you have symbolic reasoning, inductive reasoning, and deductive reasoning. So at the age of 11, they're end of inductive reasoning. And and this is very important to understand from behavior science. Inductive reasoning is based on observation, correct? So they observe it and they think about it and come to conclusion. Observation is not the best of the best reasoning, but they're learning, correct? Till they are 12 and above. Then they become deductive reasoning. Then in deductive reasoning, they do what fact basis. Now they are mature enough to do fact basis, like they find the facts and then do critical thinking, correct? So when you're talking about 11-year-old, they are almost ending the inductive reasoning, going to deductive reasoning. Now the question is, what type of behavior are you trying to address? That is very important, and that's my question.
Yeah, the case study that I gave is, for example, reducing their screen time.
Okay, good one. Okay, so reducing the screen time from internet or iPad, iPhone, and all those electronic devices, correct? Okay, what is normal? This is first thing we need to understand. Usually in America and other places, they usually say kids should be using around 2 to 3 hours, not more than 2 hours, correct? Now, this 2 hours is pure entertainment they are talking about. So if you go to school and using internet for education purpose, there's nothing you can stop it, correct? This is part of education is. But when you come back home, they should not be using more than 2 hours, correct? The other thing which is very important to understand is how much time the adults or people in the family are using internet. So if the adult is using internet 6 or 7 hours with enjoyment or programs, and you restrict the kid to 2 hours, you need to figure out what other type of entertainment they want, correct? Because after the 2 hours is done, they want to interact because internet is the basically the nanny, correct? Right now. So when they come out of internet or devices, they want to do something, but they find the adults are watching TV or their shows, so they will find ways to go back on internet or do something different. So as a parent, you have to work with them to engage with them, to do positive behavior, fun games, productive game, quizzing, or whatever you like, where they participate with you, they enjoy with you, have more social time with them. So then internet effect goes away because they have more fun with you face to face than watching internets. So the more fun they have, different games you play, they will say, okay, internet is not essential, correct? So that will be my suggestion to you, is that you need to interact, means your, other family members need to interact so they enjoy the time. If they enjoy the time, they will stop using internet longer time. That will be my suggestion. Although it's a very tough to do that, but this is how we do it. Did I
My
answer your
question is,
question?
I agree with this, that we need to have positive reinforcement by giving them alternative entertainment tools, like playing or whatever. My question is, for how long do I need to do that? What is the cycle of reinforcement until they become unconsciously habitual of like developing a dislike towards entertainment via screens?
That's a good one. So basically, as depends on how much they enjoy the other thing. Whatever you play with them and how much they're enjoying, and going from there, it varies from person to person. If the internet is so absorbing that they really enjoy it, then it will be more difficult, because the other games which you're trying to do with them is not that attractive to them. So it varies from that, and they need to, as they are growing up, they need to understand that it's not healthy to spend more time with internet, correct? So hopefully they mature enough to understand that spending so much time on internet is not good, but then interacting with your parents or family member is more important, and try to find ways they interact. Find ways. They have shortcomings, and you need to find who are their friends and interact with them so they enjoy it. And it varies from person to person. You have to develop this habit. They need to understand internet is not allowed more than 2 hours. Make a rule. Means you are running the show, you are they should not make the rules for you. You make the rules. If they make the rule, you lost the castle, correct? That's what I say. This is the rule of the house, and this is how we have to do. We have to work together, because I'm the parent and I provide you. You need to listen to me by Islamic ways and all the ways. So you need to be obedient, and let's work it out. I will work it out with you as much as possible. There's limitation. You have work going on in the afternoon or something, time comes up. They need to understand that. The more they think, and means sometimes you can go in a isolated place and you will use your creative mind. Once you use your creative mind, like painting, doing those things, you use your mind, because internet sometimes, basically you're not using mind, you're more absorbing it. The mind is very creative. They need to channel the creative mind. So find resources, coloring books, or do something, quizzing books, and have a reward from that or something. So they stick to it and they enjoy it. That will be my suggestion. So it varies from person to person. Did I
Yeah,
answer your question?
yes, very much so.
And I also answer for the other person who asked me how much internet time. So usually it's 2 hours. Let's come back to the person who asked me a question, because I'm sorry they asked the question first. So go ahead.
So yeah, so my question is that we are like currently talking about how we can change the others or our like children habits. So my question is about like our own habits, like uh those who are like adult, and like most of the us, all of us know what is good and what is not good. For example, I take an example of namaz, and now we have the knowledge about that everyone should offer the prayers 5 times, and there is a person who prays like 2 times or 3 times, and he has failed to develop a habit of 5 times, beside having the knowledge and some sort of like connection, because he's not like fully into the worldly things. He's like praying, but he's not like developing the habit of 5 times. So how he can like reinforce himself, and how, because it's easy to control or like reinforce other, but it's very hard like to have control on your own self.
That's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that question. So, as you mentioned, he has knowledge, correct? And and he has all the knowledge. Now, you have to think about it. A person who is reading less amount of namaz as required, and then we say he has enough all the knowledge, that is controversial. And I will say why. And that is what it is. If you have all the knowledge, you cannot miss the namaz. I bet you will not miss the namaz. Do you know why? I will give you example. If angel of death comes right this second, what will your action will be? You will be regretting how many you missed it. Correct? That is the point. We don't know when angel of death will come. I don't know when angel of death. It can come at this second too. I 100% believe. Does that person believe that? That's the question.
Yeah. o- Okay, so I
No.
want to add that I agree with your point that so b- the person have the kind of the partial knowledge that okay, it's good, it should be done, and it's for us. He has that knowledge, but being from the Pakistan, the actual underlying reason or underlying missing knowledge is that the belief is kind of corrupted, I will say, or the knowledge is like corrupted in the sense that in our knowledge center we have that um, I will say a truth statement in our heads that even we don't do the good, Allah is so kind and Allah is so Rahman and Rahim that we will be forgiven even if we don't like do all the good. Okay, we are trying, we are doing some of the good deeds and we are like some of the bad deeds, but in our knowledge, uh, had Allah is so like merciful that we will be forgiven eventually. So that's how our knowledge is like kind of misleading us to do this. Or so how
You
we
know,
can fix
okay,
this?
let me correct. Okay, that's a good one, and that's a very misconception you have, correct? And a lot of people have this idea. Allah will forgive you, correct? And you do the best, Allah will forgive you, correct? I get that point. Do you remember, if you can go to that, the ayat, which is Surah Mudassir, which is, if you go back. Yes, this is what Allah says right now to you, correct? It's not what I'm saying it. So you need to understand where you're going to stand if angel of death comes right now, correct? Yeah, I know that. This is Allah is saying, right? So you need to understand namaz is, this is what you need, correct? Second thing, very important to understand, when we are praying namaz, we are not doing big favor to Allah. Namaz is for us. Think about it.
Yeah, but the point is, sorry, I'm just keep cutting you off, but my point is that it's the thing is that they are doing it halfly. They are not like, so there is a person who just don't pray. He just don't pray at all, even though he's a Muslim. But I'm talking about the person who does believe and who does good, but and he want to do, but he's just not like he's just not able to develop the habit. It's not that he is not like believing on all that, he does believe, but it's somehow is not like mm, um able to make the like 5 times prayer or like
Right,
all the
I get
good
it.
habits. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. This is how I deal with it, correct? You know, look at the Sahabas. They were not missing the namaz. There's a reason behind that, correct? Because of the significance of it. If you are working, for instance, you're working and you're being assigned a job, correct, at your working place, you will get things done, correct? Because you are connected to it. If you don't get things done, you will be either fired, correct? In the this world, correct? Now understand, you are talking to Allah and we are doing every day, correct? We assume that Allah will forgive you. It's not guaranteed 100%, is what this ayat says that. Means Allah will forgive, even if somebody asks for forgiveness, it's Allah who will decide. So if Allah does decide not to forgive you, what will happen? Because you're stuck in a bad deal, correct? Other thing which is very important to understand, namaz is for you, correct? Namaz change your thinking wise. You get disconnected from the world to Allah, and you get connected to Allah. Then you have a spiritual power that comes back. You have ruh, correct? Ruh needs that. So you need to work on your ruh too, just like you eat food. You need to do something for your ruh, your fitrat, correct? You need to understand why you do namaz. So the next namaz you do better, means you don't do less sin before the next namaz, or your number of sin keeps on going down because you're accountable to Allah. This is very important to understand that namaz is the one who will save you, correct? We are under the assumption that Allah will forgive you, you do the best you can, and Allah will forgive you. That is a very thin concept. Based on this ayat, I don't know. If Allah does not forgive you, then you're going to stay in hell forever, correct? I'm not going to take that chance, correct? The other thing is, do I enjoy namaz? That's the more important thing. Sahaba used to enjoy namaz. If you're not enjoying namaz because you're reading namaz as ritual, correct? If you read namaz, the wording of the Quran as ritual, you're not going to enjoy namaz. You're not going to look for the next namaz. It will be a chore rather than looking forward for the namaz. Why the moment namaz is so good? Moment likes to wait for the next namaz. Allah invite me so I can go and do the prayer. And we are the one running away from it because our quality of namaz is poor, correct? If you get the good quality namaz close to a moment, you will strive for the next namaz. So this is the habit you need to develop, that why should I should develop a better namaz, or you should be proud that, hey, next namaz I will do better. I will try to learn what I'm reading, the depth of it, what Allah wants to say. I will try to understand what He's saying for the next namaz, and you wait for the next namaz, correct? So that will change your habits. You have to think in that direction rather than you think in that direction. You just have to read namaz and I'm done. Means what type of namaz you imagine that people pray namaz not knowing anything what they said? I cannot imagine you go to your boss and say in a different language and expect you get promotion, and you do it again and again 5 times a day, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, correct? So we are not having a proper knowledge, not at all. So we need to rectify this habit, start working on it. I'm telling you, it will change your life. That's my suggestion to you. Allah knows the best, but this is the best I can tell you. Did I answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Can I ask?
Sure.
Okay. So, uh, as you said, that knowledge and connection, these two things can change the habits. my question is that what internal drive creates an urge for the knowledge or to build the connection?
So you have to internal drive, so that what will be your conscious and unconscious mind, correct? As we discuss about that, correct? Your unconscious mind contributes 60 to 70 or 80% of it, correct? And
Mm-hmm.
then that needs to be also worked on, correct? So you're getting knowledge, but also you need to pour into your unconscious mind, correct? Removing your biases, fallacies, cognitive dissonance, and ego conflict. That is sitting in your unconscious mind also. You have to work on it. When you identify those, you will correct it. If you don't identify, how you're going to correct it? Now, this is very important to identify. So you need to spend time to yourself to think about it. So get reflection on yourself, where you stand, and then your knowledge with the help of Quran and Sirah, you can improve yourself, correct? And your knowledge base gets stronger and stronger because Allah is on your side, correct? You walk towards Allah, Allah will come twice or three times faster to you, correct? He's listening to you, correct? So you need to develop that, correct? And the connection to Allah is because Allah is the best friend of you. Means nobody is better friend than Allah is. Do you believe that? That's the question. A lot of people say it, but they don't believe inside. The moment you develop Allah is your best friend and Allah is your creator, your way of thinking changes. We think, but we don't believe that much. Allah is there, Allah is everything, but we don't internally believe that. Because if we internally believe that, you cannot miss namaz, correct?
Hmm.
So that's my
So,
thinking.
mhm. So how we can create that urge in children? I mean the urge of to get knowledge or an urge to build the connection. Okay, I mean how we can told them that this is the your hurdle, and this is the point where there are biases, where you are biased. So how the children can find these things?
Okay, that's a good one. So basically, as the child is watching their parents, correct? You are teaching your kids, correct? The way you're interacting with your husband, with your parents, and other people, and how your acts and in the house is, correct? They're absorbing it and they're listening to it and they're observing you. Once they see that this is what you're doing, they will try to copy you because they are part of you, correct? They're learning from you. So the earliest learning comes from you. So when
Mm,
they see my parents are so devoted in their prayers and they strive for their prayers, they understand the value of the prayers, then unconsciously they understand that I need to do the prayers too, correct? Because why? Because the biggest bonding between a kid and a parent is the bonding. So if they see the parents are very enthusiastic about their prayers, unconsciously they start thinking that way because it's there for them because of the trust factor, correct? So you are the ideal model for them. That will be my suggestion. And then you need to openly discuss with them. Openly discuss why you do prayers. What is the significance of prayer? Why do you do wuzu, correct? It's a ritual or there's a something behind that. You need to explain the logic behind wuzu, the logic behind prayers. Once you have a logic behind them, the bonding and the trust is so much, they will love it. They will go for the prayers. They will go and remind you it's the time for prayers. Let's do prayers together. That was you need to take a lead to do that. And that will help you. And later on, they will be really good Muslim because they understood from you and they cultivate this idea and go higher. And that will be my suggestion to you. Hopefully, I answer your question.
Ahmad Anas, please take the mic.
Assalamu alaikum. Can I ask
Walaikum
question?
salam. Sure.
My question is how we can decrease the greediness of something even if it's good or bad. For example, a person can overthink to make a decision and sometimes he want to achieve something from any even a good habit or a bad habit just to satisfy himself to decrease down the energy of in his inner will.
I'm trying. Can you repeat the question so I can understand better?
My question is that how we can decrease the greediness of something achieving good or bad. For example,
You're looking for achievement for good or for bad, are you asking? You should not be achieving for bad, correct?
no. My question is how we can decrease the greediness of doing something good or bad.
Okay, let's do the good because greediness
Okay,
for good is better, correct? Greediness for
okay,
bad
okay,
is not good, correct?
okay.
Okay,
Greediness of good. How we
correct.
can satisfy ourselves from doing something, even our mind trying to achieve something from it, and sometimes it achieve it and do not justify itself.
So the biggest, so let me ask you, did you attend my previous presentation of
No,
Nafs, Qalb and Ruh, and then the biases, fallacies, cognitive dissonance, and all those things, ego conflict? Did you attend those ones?
no.
Yeah, the answer is in that.
Okay,
I
Dr.
went
thank you.
into
Wahid,
minor detail on that.
Okay, okay, thank you.
You're most
there's
welcome.
there's a question by Sister Aruj Fatima in the chat box, and she asked um,
Sure.
that you will listen to the recording for its answer. The question is, kids often get really excited about superheroes and cartoons, copy them, talk about them, and love them. We know they don't help us at all in real life. How can we make them learn same way about Allah and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Sahaba so that they start copying and loving them, become curious to learn about them, and feel proud to be like them?
That's a good one. So
So
when
the
we
question is how the habits to copy superheroes can be changed.
yes. So if the kid is watching superheroes like, I name anyone from the West Wall, correct? Correct? The question comes, have the parent discussed about Sahabas in the home? Correct? That's the first you're trying to challenge with that, correct? So you need to, as a parent, needs to address those things that these are the Sahabas, what they did, correct? Huzur Sassam, what Huzur Sassam did, correct? And all those things. So if that has been already introduced and established very well, they will understand why Quran and all those things mentioning about those, correct? So you need to challenge them with those ones, correct? And then most likely, if you're reading about it and doing about it yourself, as well as teaching to the kid about them, like Hazrat Khatija, Hazrat Fatma, correct? Hazrat Khatija and Hazrat Fatma are superheroes for the women, correct? For the men also. How much contribution Hazrat Khatija has given and how much we don't talk about it. That's the irony of faith, you know? Means such a big resources of hadith came from Hazrat Aisha. This is a superhero for us. We don't talk about it, right? How much intelligent and critical decision making Sahaba used to come to learn from Hazrat Aisha as well as Hazrat Khatija, right? So we as a parent don't teach them. We don't even discuss about them. So the kid find a superhero something else. So we as a parent need to do their job. Allah expect us to do this thing, but we are not doing it, or are busy with other things. So my suggestion is spend more time talking about those things than just reading about them. A lot of people just read about it. This is what Hazrat Khadija did, or this is what Hazrat Aisha did, correct? You bring emotion in the facts of life that this has changed us, our civilization. This is what Islam is, correct? Then the kid will understand my parents is talking with passion. That we need to do that. So I want other parents to do that. Uh, that
Can I ask?
bring the story with passion. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, great presentation. I would just ask that, we are talking a lot about children, and that reinforcement methods, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, punishment. I think the theme has been just the children. Does these methods can also apply to other age groups, or the question would be, can positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, these type of methods, at what age group are they to be applied?
Okay. This we are talking about habits. Habit can happen to all of us, different age group. We need to address what type of how old the kid is to address that issue, correct? So if the kid is 15, 18 years old, mature enough, your approach will be different than a kid who is 5 years old, 7 years old, correct? So you need to understand that part of thinking, what type of thinking they do. So they develop better habits, correct? So what we are talking applies to all the habits, not just the kid. Your namaz, your rosa, how you deal with it, backbiting, lying, arrogance, everything it works on it. It's not just dealing with the kids. What I mentioned is about the habit procedure in your mind. This is a circuit goes in your mind. You understand from behavior science, this is a circuit works in your mind, then you will fix it. Because most of the time, what we do is punishment, not realizing there are other pathways too, we miss it. So reinforcement has to be done. Punishment, if required, needs to be done, and resilience needs to be done. We don't do that. So, if we don't do all those things, and then we have to understand the knowledge and connections that sustain that habit or good habits, correct? We don't have good knowledge. We have biases, fallacies, cognitive dissonance, ego conflicts, and all those things, correct? So, how are we going to sustain that? So that's why I'm trying to bring it up that you need to develop those things. That's why Hazrat Abu Bakr Razilullah Ta'ala anhu didn't have those things. He was so wise that it took a shortest period of time before he was non-Muslim to Muslim to change all his habit. Because it's unconscious, because he was wise and knowledgeable, he understood what was bad. He rectified all those things because he was knowledgeable and he was getting knowledge from Sahabas and Huzur, right? There you go. And the connection with Allah and all those things. So we need to develop this perfect knowledge or as good as possible knowledge and connection to sustain good habits. Could be anything. And how to get away from bad habits. It's not related to kids. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, fine. But I would just say that most of these methods are sort of linked to economy and power as well, right? Because
Not necessary.
only adults, because there are many adults who need negative reinforcement as well, positive reinforcement as well, many
Correct.
elements like that, because they also do a lot of evil. In fact, most of the evil comes from them, in my
Okay.
opinion. So
Sure.
yeah, so most of these, I think these methods are sort of linked to economy and power as well, right?
Not necessary. That's what I'm trying to say, that why Hazrat Abu Bakr changed from one side to another with the shortest amount of time. He was not wealthy. Is Hazrat Abu Zar Ghafari was wealthy? or a lot of Sahabas, I can go through it. Were they wealthy? No, but they have the best habits, correct?
I think his question was something different. He's saying that for adults, these positive and negative reinforcements come from the policymakers. For example, we do not drive our car when the signal is red because of the negative reinforcement that the policymakers are doing by giving a ticket or a fine if we are not developing the right kind of habits. So I think this is what Mars was referring to.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So I took it the other way around. Okay, so you are just following your parents to see how you deal with it because they are if you're a kid, you will just following their parents, correct? They are the guidance for it to develop good habits, correct? And then when you become adult, you are responsible, but you also know what is right and what is wrong, correct? That will be my understanding. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
So, Dr. Najeeb, how much more time do we have? Because we are already like 90 minutes past.
Yeah, I think so. We need to end
Wrap
the
up.
session and get those quiz post
Yeah.
analysis one.
We request everyone, Brother Hamza, can you share the feedback form in the chat box? We request everyone to go to the Zoom chat box
Give me
and
a second.
fill in the reflective log because we need to understand if the members are able to develop their understanding. We want all of the members to take responsibility and ownership of their learning. Dr. Najib, if you want to say some words about the importance of filling this reflective log.
Yeah, filling this log is very important. The reason is your feedback will help us to work on my presentation to address those issues, correct? Because it's a two-way pathway. Your feedback does helps me that this is what people are thinking and I should work on that, correct? So you get the good deed also as I'm doing it from Allah that you're helping me, correct? And we are helping each other. Whoever listen, you're going to get the good deeds too, correct? So this is and you also learn from it because I can explain to you your questions, correct? So when you ask those questions, I can explain to you. So it's very important to have that thing. You have to uh, you have to develop this habit. It's a good habit. You have to take accountability. Once you're 100% accountable, you take ownership. But if you're 10% accountable, you walk away. You're not learning much because you're not taking accountability. Means we are accountable. I am accountable for the last hour I spent to you because I will be asked on the day of judgment, did I pass my knowledge? And I will say, with my accountability, I put my best effort to the 100%. And Allah is witnessing right now in front of all the malaikas. So I'm proud of myself that I did what
Just
Allah
so
asked me.
just so there is no confusion, this is more like a feedback form because the initial form was also called reflective. So this is a feedback form on how you like the presentation, and there's a
Okay,
few
that's fine.
questions for reflection
Sure.
in the end. So just so people don't get confused, because one person said they just did it, but I think they didn't do this one; they did the previous one.
Yeah, feedback will also help me, but it's
Yeah.
all up to you. If you want to take accountability, because everybody's accountable. Means I'm accountable for my actions. You are accountable for your actions. Correct? On the day of judgment. Hopefully, I answer most of your question. May Allah forgive me if I have done mistakes. Wallahu alam, Allah knows the best. And let me know more question if you have, and I will be glad to answer those questions. And Jazakallah for coming and actively participating. And hopefully we learn. And you'll just let me know, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much.
What was the answer that which part of that infographic that you have
Thank
created,
you.
which part
Thanks
of
for reminding. It's scalp. Mostly it's scalp because the calb is the one that makes the decision, but nafs is also some people say, but the calb is the most important part because it makes the decision because you're learning from your akal and your condition from your classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and all those things that goes to your akal and that goes to your kalb, correct? So this is where the kalb is, and kalb is the one that makes a lot of decision making on the spot, and it's also influenced by your nafs. So some people say it's nafs also, but kalb is definitely there. That's my opinion, and wallahu alam, Allah knows the best.
uh, can
Uh,
I
yeah, go ahead.
so can we move to the slide where you have shown the picture of the brain? Yeah. So let's take a case studies. For example, I have a habit of, let's say, I have a habit of biting, and now I have read Quran and I have read the Surah, which states the negative consequences of the person who is backbiting. So I have gained that knowledge to such an extent that I'm really thinking about that knowledge. And so that particular knowledge will go to prefrontal cortex, and from there it will go to hypothalamus, and this is the center of memory, and this will help me change my habits. Is this how it's going to work or what?
Yes. So where your faith lies, faith is your unconscious mind. A lot of is in your unconscious mind, correct? So you rectify the knowledge and correct it that backbiting is not allowed, correct? So you are putting this knowledge back in your brain that whenever you backbite, it is not correct, and you're reinforcing by reward and punishment, correct? Reward is the reward and punishment. Reward is your nucleus accumbens, and the punishment is amygdala. You're reinforcing your knowledge with emotion of that. So it's solidifying that whenever you do, there is a punishment there, and unconscious mind is holding that information, correct? So whenever that thing comes, and the unconscious mind makes that decision, it has been reinforced by the punishment phenomena unconsciously that you will pay the consequences. So you will stop it from the unconscious mind. When this same information goes to the frontal lobe, because you didn't respond right away, the frontal lobe gives the information back that that's wrong too. So you're correcting the knowledge from the automatic thoughts as well as alternate thoughts. The alternate thoughts is your executive decision or frontal lobe, which takes a couple of seconds. The automatic thoughts come from the limbic area where your hypothalamus, amygdala is, and all those things are sitting there. So you take a little bit more time to correct it, but if you want to not to means if you respond right away and you have solidified this information, there's a good chance you will not do it. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, jazakallah khair.
Yeah, so I have a
So
question. Is just a
can we
thought.
take a question from Salman, because his hand is up from quite some
Sure.
time, and then meanwhile all of the participants, please fill up this feedback form. Brother Salman, please take the mic.
Ma'am, can I ask the question meanwhile?
Go ahead.
Sir, I wanted to ask that how can you describe procrastination? Like, I know all the knowledge that I require for praying, but I many times delay it. So How can you
So
describe
that's a good
procrastination
one. That's a
habit?
very good one. A lot of people go through it. Trust me, there are times a lot of people go through it. I'm happy that you asked this question. So, if you love somebody, will you procrastinate? This is the question you ask yourself, correct? The time of namaz came, and you think, I love Allah, will I procrastinate? Because in real life, if you love somebody, you're not going to procrastinate. You will go for it, correct? Because your reward
Mm.
center will activate. I love what I'm going to do. In procrastination, what happened is that your reward phenomena is not that active, and you find ways by your biases that I can do it. It just delayed because there was a Sahaba who did that too. There was a war took place, and Sahaba was told to go over there, and he procrastinated, and he took a day or 2 and 3 days, and then he was not able to reach there, and he asked for forgiveness. So the point of saying is, procrastination is there. The shaitan will come and to tell you there's a possibility, but your reward is not that active, and your punishment is not kicking in, correct? That's the point.
Mhm.
So you need to correct your biases, fallacies, and all those things that why I'm not getting excited with my namaz. Allah is waiting for me and I'm trying to get away. So what's my thinking behind? If my supervisor call me for promotion, will I sit in my office and procrastinate? No, of course not. So when Allah is calling me and I'm given opportunity one more time, I'm going to procrastinate. That's your value of thinking. There's a problem with your faith then, correct? Very simple. So we need to correct our way of how we put that our faith together, correct? Is our religion more important than work is more important? And that's why it works. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Somebody was supposed to be talking, and sorry, we was not able to connect.
So I was asking a question in like the talk we are having before that about the backbiting and the picture you are showing on the screen. So my question is that in that scenario, what was the like reinforcement? Is it just the thought that that it's a bad thing? It's just only the reinforcement, and what's the reward in that scenario of building the habit?
Okay, so what's your understanding of reinforcement is? Increase
Like,
the behavior, correct? Reinforcement increases the behavior.
yeah,
And
like
what
for
behavior are we looking for? Backbiting? So we are not
yeah,
doing the reinforcement here.
so like for the kids, it's very understandable. Okay, we will give it some kind of a treat and some kind of a useful punishment to develop certain kind of a
So
habit.
when somebody
But
does, go ahead.
but in the scenario where you're talking about the backbiting, that reward and the useful punishment, uh, I didn't understand what was the reward and what was the useful punishment
Got
in
it.
that
Okay. So
case.
when somebody is doing bad biting, that's a bad behavior, correct? Very simple. So here, what you have to work is the punishment phenomena, correct? That's how it works, correct? But you also need to work on other things to think in that direction that they went through a hard time, but they did something right, correct? So you're reinforcing with something else. It's not all dooms that what you did. You bring up something positive in them too, what you did and which was right. So you do reinforcement on some good character when you are addressing the punishment also, correct? It's not just punishment only, but you also readdress reinforcement of good behavior. So
Yeah,
you
it's about your
also,
own self because the lady asked question, it's about oneself. It's not changing the
in
habit of.
her case scenario, she needs to, that will be my suggestion, that she needs to see a physician and all those things to talk about it, because they have therapists who goes into minor detail what happened in the past, which is called cognitive behavior therapies and all those things, and change your thinking process, because there is a way of handling that. So that will help her. That
No,
is my
sorry,
suggestion.
sorry. You have like so the lady asked you question that there is a person or herself or whatever. He is like backbiting, and then he reads the Quran, and the Quran was referring about the punishments of backbiting, and now he thought that he needs to change the habits, and then he asked, so she got the knowledge now, and now the knowledge is going to connect with the qalb. So in that life, in that cycle of developing the habit of stopping backbiting, or like redoing that or erasing that habit of backbiting, what or how she is going to give reward to her own self, or how she's going to like give punishment to her own self. What is the
Okay.
phenomenon of
Okay.
reward and
So,
punishment coming in that
okay.
scenario?
So when she realized that bad biting is bad, so, understand what the punishment she will get it. So that's the punishment phenomena kicks in. So you understand that if you have done this will happen, so you feel bad that you have done it, correct? Very simple. That's the punishment pathway kicks in. How you do reinforcement is you understand not to do it and do a healthy habit. So you're reinforcing a healthy habit of not doing backbiting, but do something positive of that same thing, that I avoided doing that, but I did something constructive of that same issue. That is called reinforcement phenomena. So you do reinforcement and punishment at the same time.
So what good
It-
thing could be done in the like
Okay,
correspondence to
so
backbiting?
when somebody is not backbiting, you're following what? You're following Quran and Sirah, correct?
Yeah,
So you're reinforcing good deed, correct?
correct.
Who will benefit out of you? You. Will Allah be happy with you? Yes. So you're reinforcing the good deed by not doing it. So activating the pleasure pathway, that not to do that. When Allah challenge, or when the challenges come, I stay away from it. So then you think in a positive way of reinforcing that I need to do it because it's in my benefit, because I have to face it in the next life or in this life. So you have to do reinforcement as well as understand the punishment also, because reward and punishment pathway both kicks in at the same time in a human body. Depends on how much is kicked in or how much is suppressed. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Can I request everyone to please open up the feedback form if you're unable to fill it right now during the presentation? You can fill it right after the presentation. Um, Filling it is mandatory. Kindly please do take some time to fill that in. And copy the feedback form from this group chat, because all of you guys are coming from very different communities and we won't be able to reach out to you. So please copy that feedback form. I think, brother Dr. Najeeb, we have taken a lot of your time.
And
Jazakallah khairan kaseera.
that's
Sir,
fine.
I
And
have a last question.
yes, go ahead.
Sir, in case of namaz, we are not getting instant reward or instant punishment over delaying namaz. So, how can we, uh, what can we consider like instant? For example, if my father calls me for something, I know he is waiting for me and he wants me to respond immediately, and I do that. But when it's namaz, I know like it's a certain period of time, and I unfortunately delay it till the end. So how can I push myself to pray like the earliest hour of the namaz time?
So you need to work out with the family members that you have to let them know that I'm doing the prayers. Give me that much time period. But if it's very urgent, let me know. Correct? So they are aware of it because they may not be aware of it and they keep on calling. And if the your parents are elderly, they will not realize that or they need a lot of help. Correct? So you work with them that hey, this is going on. I need just a little bit time to pray, and they will work with you. Correct? That's what we used to do it all the time, correct? We tell our parents and all those things that give us a time and we are doing prayer and I will come back. But if it's urgently needed, call us. Does it helps you?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Anybody has any other questions?
Yes, sir. I have a question. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
I have a question, sir. That mm, so,
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
what is the connection between the habits and brain?
What's the connection between habit and brain?
Yeah.
Okay. Habit is the way you behave, correct? It's a constant behavior which is learned and conditioned is your habit, correct?
Yes.
And where the habit is done, the thought process is in the brain, not in your heart, it's in your brain. Does that answer your question? Okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate. And then next time we will talk and we'll go from there.